Hello, you're listening to the Saluki Gamescast. This is episode 97 for Friday, November 15th, 2024. My name is Justin Young. Joining me as always are Alicia Utecht and Christina Ivey. How are the two of you doing?
I'm pretty good. Yeah.
It sure is that time of the semester.
I was about to say the silent head nods from Alicia.
I like how one of you have a positive reaction, the other one not so positive.
Oh, it's like the different aspects, I guess, of like the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm firmly in denial.
Well, it is that time of the semester. We're 1 week out from Thanksgiving, and so we obviously lots of hectic things going on in the department and in classes.
Yeah, lots of hectic things for Thanksgiving. We have our national conference next weekend, so we have that. We come back from Thanksgiving and we have a single week and then finals week, so all kinds of... It's that time of the semester.
Right. And we should note, like, you helped out with Juno's show last week, so that kept you fairly busy as well.
Kept me super busy. I'm really glad it went really well. I'm really proud of Juno, and I'm really glad that it's done because I need to breathe.
Yeah, I attended that show, and it's I'm always kind of amazed by a lot of those shows when it's just the one person on stage, right? Like, there's no crutch. Like, it's that's not to demean anybody who has other actors come onto stage, but like sometimes, having another person there, it just makes you more comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, even
like you don't have to carry the whole thing yourself.
Right. And not everybody's looking at you every second. Right? Like, maybe they'll look over at them for...
This is, like, deterring me from putting in my show for next year.
No, you're going to do fabulous.
I mean, but, like, I'm always impressed when people pull it off because, like, that's actually quite an accomplishment. And so watching those sorts of shows, when people ask, like, sort of the difference between traditional theater and, like, a performance piece, it's like, well, this is... most traditional theater isn't this. And so like that's actually a lot more weight to carry.
Yeah.
And so I'm always impressed when people pull it off. And Juno did a good show. So we also had Playing for Pets last weekend.
There was an opportunity to update a controller, and Justin didn't let me.
I don't even think I didn't let you. I think Mario maybe jumped in there. It was like, no, she's not doing that. And so we did Playing for Pets. That was last Thursday and Friday. It was 16 hours of streaming of video games. All of our normal, regular cast is involved in that. But also OJ stopped by.
Oh yeah.
Hung out for a while.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
They did. Yeah, I got to catch the tail end of that on Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah. So OJ was there for I don't know, like 2 or 3 hours for a while, and so it was cool to have everyone there at different times and interacting, and then of course interacting with the students and everything.
A lot of those students got into it. Do you normally because this was my first one since I've been here. Do you normally have towards the end of it just a whole bunch of students in there like that?
It sort of depends. Like when we used to do it, it was 24 hours. It was like almost nobody was left by the end. But it would be like when we hit our sort of like prime hours, like because we would do it Friday night into Saturday, and when we would hit like Friday night at like 8 p.m., it would be packed with people in there.
Yeah.
And probably like 8 p.m. to midnight. And then it would kind of filter out. And
fizzle out, yeah.
You had those like 3 a.m. where there's like almost nobody there.
Which honestly is kind of how Summer Games Done Quick and the Awesome Games Done Quick.
Sure.
There's like 1 or 2 people on the couch at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean, people need to go home and sleep. But
Yeah.
That's also the time when we would break out like the Friday the 13th game or something. Like it's the after hours. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that, I talk to people about when I'm sort of promoting and explaining the event is I tend to see that every time, that somebody comes for an hour and then they're there for 2 or 3 hours. Or they come for an hour and they say, can I come back later?
Oh, yeah.
And absolutely. Right. And, so I know you signed up for a couple hours, and Alicia, you did, but like then we're there longer than like what you had signed up for.
Yeah, I came early because mine was at the end of both days, and I just came early both days. Yeah.
Well, and I was really excited that a couple of my students came, and like,
oh, cool.
You know, two of the students who came while I was there are students who are like really vocal and really engaged and all that, and one of them is a student who, you know, then when I was there the next day, the student who came while I was there at that time is a really great kid and just kind of takes a little bit longer to warm up and speak up and be comfortable. And so like getting to see him just have a great time, you know, killing all of us in Super Smash Brothers was so nice to see him just so relaxed and feel comfortable.
Right.
Even with, you know, his instructor right next to him being like, Why did you just knock me off? What the heck?
Well, I think that's always the fun thing that I hear from students, is that they really like engaging with the faculty, right? Or engaging with students that they don't normally interact with, don't know, and finding out that there are other people with similar interests to them. We had a few people from the game design course that I was in last spring who came and participated. And so like that was neat because obviously those people have that interest, and, you know, and yeah, overall just a really fun event. You know, I think people seem to have a really good time. And so that's,
and we got some money for St. Francis Animal Shelter.
We got some physical donations as well. I need to carry that box into my office after this. And then also, you know, a lot of publicity for both the department and for St. Francis Care, because WPSD actually carried it on 2 separate segments.
Oh, wow.
On the news.
That's cool.
KFVS,
That's awesome.
KFVS 12 out of Cape Girardeau also like carried it. The Southern Illinoisan newspaper
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
came and did a story. So, you know, like that's always one of the benefits that's a less tangible benefit of, okay, how many people are finding out about St. Francis Care because of this? Because even, you know, here in Carbondale, even though they are literally a stone's throw away, I still see people all the time going, is there a good animal shelter locally to adopt from?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, well, there's several, I think, but like, this is a great one.
Especially with the Humane Society in the area shutting down earlier this year.
Right.
You know, all the animal shelters in the area, you know, Right Way Rescue, St. Francis Care, they all need the publicity and need like people to know that they're there. So
right.
It's really awesome that you put this together to like support them with that.
Yeah, and it's a cause that everybody can get behind. You know, that was originally when we chose animals, because it was something like, there's nothing controversial. Nobody's going to get upset and be like, well, what about this issue? And you're like, no, like everybody likes helping out cats and dogs.
Yeah.
You know, coming from a nonprofit background, that third rail that you don't know is there. And then somebody's like up in arms over it, and you're like, really? I thought the Boys and Girls Club was a nice group.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, if you're listening to this, you can go to playingforpets.com, and the archive of both days is up there, as well as links to the local media coverage and some other stuff. So that will be up there long term at playingforpets.com. That's just a redirect to salukigames.com, but it takes care of all that for us. But thank you for everybody who watched. Thanks to everybody who donated, and obviously thanks to the two of you for participating and helping out with it. Yeah, there's some great pictures of people playing Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Oh yeah.
Because people always get really into that game.
Yeah, that's an intense game.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right, well, why don't we move into what you've been playing? And Alicia, why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
So Pokemon TCG Pocket still has me like sucked in. It has a grip on my life right now. I'm kind of obsessed. I think I said before, I never really figured out how to play the card game like growing up. Even though I collected all the trading cards, I didn't know how to play it. My sister and I tried once and definitely didn't play the game right. But so this, I haven't hit the point of spending actual money yet, thankfully, because I know once I cross that line, there's no going back. But I'm definitely like doing that thing where I'll sit and I'll watch for, okay, when is my hourglass going to tick over? That way I can do a wonder pick. When is my, I've got enough hourglasses. I can like spend those and get open a booster pack early. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've beaten all of the events so far. So they just wrapped up a normal type event that was featuring like Meowth and Chansey cards. I got through all of those missions. They also currently have a Lapras EX battle event happening. I've beaten all of those. I've beaten all of the like solo versus the AI missions. So now I'm like getting into battling other human beings on there. People are kind of driving me crazy with the boring deck builds, I think. Of course, Mewtwo is one of the most powerful Pokemon, so you run into all these people who have a Mewtwo EX deck build or a Charizard EX deck build, and I'm like, can we please get creative? Like, you're just boring. But I will say now my best deck is...
Does it have Charizard and Mewtwo?
Right.
No, it's water types and dark types to combat whichever one I come up against.
Oh, okay.
And I'm having way too much fun naming my decks. My electric type deck is named Sparks Fly. This one is black and blue. Like, I'm having way too much fun.
So are you playing a lot against human opponents?
I am. I think because they also had an event going where you got emblems for beating, win 5 battles, win 15, win 45. So of course I had to do that and win my 50 to finish all the missions for that.
Right.
And then from there, I think just because the battles are the one thing that battling against other human beings is the one thing that you don't have to like wait or spend to be able to do, because like you can open a booster pack every 12 hours unless if you spend hourglasses to like speed up the process. You can wonder pick. You get up to 5, I don't know what to call them, like full circles, and then depending on the cards from the wonder pick, it's either 1, 2, 3, or 4 that it costs to do that. Mm-hmm. And again, those are 12 hours to refill your circles. Even like the Lapras EX battle event, there's 12 hours before each of those 5 circles fills up. So like battling against other human beings is the only thing that like you don't have to wait for a cooldown time. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can just go battle again and again and again and again and again. Mm-hmm. I do wish, and this is probably my biggest complaint with the game right now, is you only get experience points if you win a battle. If you lose a battle, you don't get any experience points. And I'm like, that's not fun. Give me experience points either way, because I'm still doing the battle.
Particularly against human opponents.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Where like you are wasting time doing this, and there's not a finite number of these that you can do, and you could conceivably just be really bad at the game and losing all the time, and like then what is the incentive to continue?
Yeah. Exactly. And even like they have a beginner and an intermediate level that you can enter for random matches, and like I'm still playing on the beginner level because I still don't really know what I'm figuring out what I'm doing, and I probably should move up to the intermediate level fairly soon. But like there's a lot of people on the beginner level who, like I said, are just running the Mewtwo EX deck.
Right.
Or running the Charizard EX, Moltres EX deck. And it's like, I'm really glad that I downloaded it day one before anybody had these decks figured out. That way I could actually learn to play the game.
Right. Well, I mean, it sounds like you're running into the same issues that people run into with any multiplayer online game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm thinking like Call of Duty, right? That's one of the things Call of Duty figured out is they have to give experience even when you lose, even when your team loses, because otherwise people give up, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking like that with Dead by Daylight, like people play the quote unquote meta build. And if you're a beginner, it's really hard to defeat that. Like once you get more experience, you learn that it's actually pretty easy to do it. But at the beginning, it's, like what you said, like very boring matches of the killer just like dominating the survivors because of the meta build, or the survivors dominating the killer who doesn't know how to do anything because they have a few set perks that just make them better.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of wish, and I don't expect to see this implemented anytime soon. I think implementing giving experience points to everyone in the battle would be really easy to implement, but I would like to see certain decks banned from beginner. You know, the Mewtwo EX deck, the Charizard EX, Moltres EX. I'm like, again, I'm if I had started playing even like today, you know, the game's been out for what, 2 weeks, if that. If I started playing today and kept coming up against that again and again and again and again, I would just be like, well, screw this. So, like, I would like to see those be like, no, you have to go battle in the intermediate if you're going to run that deck.
Right.
Like, don't ban it from the game outright, but you need to go play in the intermediate section.
Well, I mean, again, I think about, like, fighting games where there's that one character that is overpowered.
Yeah.
And so you end up with everybody is playing as Akuma in Street Fighter or something, and it gets to a point where, okay, there's 30 characters in this game and we're only seeing one or two of them get used. Mm-hmm. And like, I understand it from a competitive standpoint, but also like just from a fun standpoint, right? Like,
exactly.
Who cares?
Exactly.
I know. And I'm like, I want to like play around with different deck builds and that, right. But like, what's the point if I'm going to lose and not even get any experience points from it?
Again, the same thing happens in Dead by Daylight because, like, some killers get so sweaty. And, like, the top killer in that game is the nurse. And when you watch it competitively, depending on what rules they're playing by, you'll always see a nurse no matter what, because she's just heads and shoulders above the others. But I like playing some of the other killers just because they're fun. Like, it makes me have to think on my feet of like remembering, oh wait, this is how to counter that, blah blah blah. It just, I don't know, it makes the game more fun to play it as it's meant to be played, which is this varied thing, right, as opposed to just the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah. And I think as someone who's never really gotten into competitive on any level, you know, I mean, even, you know, I'm subscribed to Wolfie Glick on YouTube, but I don't watch competitive Pokemon video gaming or competitive card gaming. Like, I've never gotten into that world, so I've always been kind of like that, oh, why are you banning things? Like, that should be, like, you should be able to do it. And now I'm like, oh, that's why.
Yep.
That's why things get banned.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to when I was in college, we had one friend who would, go stand on the edge of the platform and the original Super Smash Brothers, not even Melee, and just wait and attack people.
Yes.
And so finally we, as a group, just were like, no, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's just no fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it takes the fun out of the game, and like, we're here to have fun.
Exactly.
And I feel like every game eventually gets to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel Snap, just as a comparison, as a card battling game, it got to that point where I would see a similar build from everybody I was playing against. And after a while you go, I don't want to play this, right? Like, because basically there's 2 or 3 builds that everyone's using, and otherwise you're not competitive.
Exactly. And it's like, it's weird, like, You know, something like
and I want to use Squirrel Girl. So let me use Squirrel Girl.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, you know, the situation with your friend, you're in person, you can say that to them and be like, but then something like Marvel Snap or Pokemon TCG Pocket, you're like, this is some random human. Like, there's no messaging system between you at all to be like, bro, what the heck? And you're probably never going to connect with them again unless if you do friend them. And even then, there's not a messaging between you two. It's just...
It's a Nintendo product.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, I do still love it. I do still really love, like, getting to collect all the cards and have them just take up digital space instead of physical space. And like I'm having fun like adding flair to them and like making them pretty and all of that, but I don't expect it to loosen its grip on me anytime soon. There just are things that I would like to see adjusted.
Yeah. I'll just jump in like that. I did download this and I've collected, I don't know, like 80 Pokemon so far. But I haven't gotten into, it took me a while to unlock the competitive mode because you have to get to level 3 or something. I forget.
Yeah.
And I haven't started in on that because I just haven't had time to sit down and like go, I'm going to learn how this game plays, how to play Pokemon. But, you know, that's also part of the issue is I do not play Pokemon. Like even the games, you know, I have played them, but like it's not something I play on a regular basis. Yeah. So I feel like I have a steeper learning curve than pretty much everybody else coming into that game.
Well, it is nice because like you can auto build your decks.
Right.
So like that was what I did in the beginning was I just auto built like here's an electric type deck, here's a grass type deck, but then you have to remember to go back and update them as you get better cards.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a neat game, and like there's certainly that addictiveness of opening new packs and hoping that you're getting your favorite Pokemon. And at this point, everyone has a favorite Pokemon, right? Like they have that inbuilt audience.
Oh no, when I found out that the first event they were doing was Chansey and Meowth, I was like, okay, so I'm never going away because Meowth is one of my favorites of all time. Yeah. And I was like, I am getting all the Meowth cards. I don't care what I have to do.
All right. Anything else?
Not a ton. I did go back last night and I realized there was some Power Wash Simulator DLC that was free that I hadn't downloaded yet. So I went and downloaded the Halloween mansion that they have, and then they also have like a summer one that I had missed. So I was playing a bit of that last night. And then the other big thing is I've been watching a lot of people play Pokemon Emerald Sea Glass, which is a ROM hack that takes Pokemon Emerald and puts it in the aesthetic of like red, blue, and yellow, but then also adds in like the Pokemon walking behind you from Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And it is one of the prettiest games I've ever seen in my life. It's absolutely gorgeous, and just the way that they incorporate things, and one of the other great things is like a lot of the ROM hacks that I watch people play are difficulty ROM hacks. This one is not a difficulty ROM hack, so they're not like trying to make it more difficult for you. It's meant to just be the same nostalgia from those early games. Well, at the same time, like they add things like how Generation 2 had a bug catching contest. You know, here, because it's Hoenn 7.8 out of 10, too much water, you get a diving contest to catch the coolest water Pokemon. And like, it's really it's a really cool thing. And like specifically, you know, thinking we've talked a lot over the past 97 episodes of like a lot of video games feeling like they look the same right now when they come out from major companies, and like indie games are the ones that like go for cool aesthetics. I feel like this game does such a good job of bringing back that aesthetic from the Gen 1 games while also still being really pretty. So it's been a lot of fun watching. Flygon HG just posted his complete run. And my friend, one of my friends on Twitch, Griggy13 has been playing it, so getting to see a lot of that has been very fun.
Cool. That sounds neat. All right. Christina, what have you been playing?
So I've been watching a lot and playing some. So most of what I've been watching is the TCG Card Shop Simulator. I don't really play a lot of simulator games, but for some, I think it's the ripping card packs, whatever. I've gotten addicted to watching people play these games and want to see like if they get, the cards and stuff. And it's also really cool to see like the different things that go along with selling the cards, not just the cards themselves. I also think it's funny that like one of the things that's not related to fandom that you're able to sell as part of your card shop is like deodorant. Because because some people that come in have this green gas around them and they're stinky. And that will be something that when you're looking at the
This is the PC game where you like are running a virtual card shop, right? Like,
yeah. It. I don't know if it's made by the same person that did the grocery store simulator, but it keeps getting compared to that and everything that I've been watching.
I don't think it's the same people, but like it is a very similar style. Okay.
Yes. And so these people, and that's one of the things you run into early because on the app that's on your phone where you can see people like rate your store. One of the things that will take your points down is if you have too many stinky people. And so you have to keep it in stock, and you can buy these like air freshener things that go near the door that will spray people as they walk past because they're so stinky.
I mean, let's be honest. This is fair for some of that clientele.
Oh, no, it is totally valid, but it's just hilarious.
That's why I think it's so funny. I was like, relatable. Not necessarily me, but I've been in those stores.
Those, I know when they do like Comic Cons and video game conventions, like there's always like a warning that comes out in advance, like, hey, you need to wear deodorant and bathe while you're here.
There was a TikTok that I saw where someone was going through Comic Con and was like, asking different people what fandom is the stinkiest. And I want to say that like My Hero Academia won, which was funny to me because like I really like that, but I've never been to a Comic-Con. And so I was like, good to know to avoid my people because apparently they smell.
It would have been Homestuck back in the day.
Yeah. So it's something that is addictive because of the cards. And I've never collected cards. I've never been big on that. Like the boy I used to babysit when I was in 7th, 8th grade loved Pokemon. And so I've played because he played. But I myself have never been a card collector. So the whole addictive nature of opening packs is new to me and it's dangerous. And this is why I have not downloaded the game because that would be all I would do.
No, there's a new like card gaming store that opened up in Murfreesboro recently, and I'm like, I am afraid to set foot in there now that I've been playing Pokemon TCG.
I was gonna say I would just buy random pack. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do with these.
Yeah, like I have no purpose. I'm not gonna actually play the card game, but dang if I'm not gonna spend money on it.
What's really cool about the card shop simulator is that you can open them, but then once you open them, you can sell the singles. So like it's still a lucrative part of the gaming like strategy.
Right. It's funny because you talking about that like thrill of opening the pack. Like I was big into baseball cards when I was a kid. And so every spring when the new series for the new year, the new Topps series comes out, I'll be in like Walmart or somewhere and they'll be up there at the front of the counter. And almost without fail, once a year, I'll just pick up a pack and buy it because I want that thrill of opening it and saying, like, which cards am I getting this time?
That's really cool.
So, yeah, luckily I never got into Pokemon because that seems incredibly expensive.
Yes,
Yeah.
Pokemon and Magic and any of Yu-Gi-Oh, which I watched but never tried to play.
That new Disney Lorcana game.
Yes,
Crazy.
It just, and what's interesting also is like the card shop simulator. I forgot the name of the. Basically, it's a Pokemon ripoff, but I forgot what it's called.
Is it called Pow World?
Close, but no. They're actually working on making it into a game so that you'll be able to play the game as part of the simulator, which is interesting to me. I'm wondering how
Coming
long.
full circle.
Yes.
I was gonna say, is it? Are they're making it a game within the game, or they're making
Yes.
like real physical cards?
Well, that's next.
From my understanding, it's for now it's game within a game. But
Okay, so
yeah,
so like Queen's Blood and Final Fantasy Rebirth.
probably I don't know what that is, but yeah.
That's okay.
It's sort of like Balatro, where eventually
Yes.
they start actually printing the cards.
Yes.
Because
Yeah, for sure. And so, you also can set up card tables so people can come. That's, again, another lucrative part of the strategy is like people will pay you to sit there for a while. What's so funny is they'll be sitting there playing each other and all of a sudden one will like grab its head and like shake back and forth because it's losing, I guess.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's been really interesting to watch. Again, especially it feels like an ethnography almost of me like knowing this culture, being like parallel to this culture, but never have really been someone to dive into it.
Right.
And so like watching has been really cool.
It reminds me of in college. Like I wasn't into comic books. I read comic books quite a bit when I was like 10 years old. But I had kind of lost the interest and didn't buy or collect them very much. But there was a comic book store right across the street from campus. Mm-hmm. And there was some big comic book that was coming out that was getting hyped a lot. And I was like, oh, that interests me. I think it was a Batman.
I was wondering if it was
comic.
Death of Superman.
No, that was much earlier when I was younger. Thank you for thinking I'm that young. I do have a copy of the Death of Superman that my mom and sister went and bought me because I was sick and in bed, and they knew I desperately wanted that comic, so they went downtown and bought it at the comic book store for me. And so I still have that as far as I know. But no, this was just some Batman comic. And anyways, I went in there. And I'd never been in that comic book store before. And I went in there and they had all the tables like set up, people playing whatever they were playing at the time, probably Magic. But, and I walked in there and it was like it was like out of Hitchcock's The Birds. Like the moment I walked in there, they all just turned and looked at me like, you don't belong in here. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I feel like it would be like if I walked into a gay bar today and everybody would go, what are you doing in here?
With your New Balance tennis shoes and your cargo shorts.
And your Bucky's shirt.
Yes.
Like they would
the Bucky shirt would fit on me.
but like they would instantly go like, you don't belong in here.
The difference is they would buy you a drink because they think it's funny.
Look, I mean, they would be
Whereas
probably
they can't buy you a comic book or a game because it's too expensive.
free comic book day. They would give me a comic. And I have been to comic book stores since then, but like, no, I assume the people at the gay bar would be very welcoming and friendly, but also like, are you at the right place?
Yes.
Yeah, they'd be like, honey, are you okay?
I was about to say a drag queen would go up and be like, honey, you in the right place. and I was just thinking the Bucky shirt would only fit if you were a lesbian.
Yeah, I mean, that actually makes me think of, I was thinking of it this morning because the song came on, like one of my favorite revisionist looks at a piece of media is the song Piano Man by Billy Joel. Mm-hmm. And that the song Piano Man by Billy Joel makes a lot more sense if you think that the piano man is playing at a gay bar and he's the only one who doesn't know, and everybody else like who's coming up to him and like they put bread in his jar and go, man, what are you doing here? And Davy's in the Navy and probably will be for life. And there's the guy at the bar who gets him his drinks for free, and that guy's like hitting on him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all just like dude, like you know you're at a gay bar and he's just happily playing along, completely oblivious to it.
I've never heard that take, and that is amazing.
That's my new favorite thing. I'm gonna, as soon as we leave here, I'm gonna go listen to that song.
If you go and you listen to it now, and keep that in mind, like a lot of those lines make a lot more sense. It's really kind of funny. But anyways, yeah, the whole point of that was like I walk in and they all just kind of stare at me and they're like, "What do you need?" Like, and it's very obvious. Like, I'm not there to peruse. Yeah. I'm there for one thing. Because
that one comic.
Yeah, I was like, I want this comic, and he's like, walks over, picks it up. Here it is. That'll be $5, and it's very clear. Like, you need to leave. You've got your comic. Now, not all comic stores are that way.
Yeah,
I was gonna say they probably were having an event that day.
Yeah. It might have been, right? Like, and generally when I've been in other comic stores, people are generally super friendly.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's part of the reason I love seeing straight people at drag shows, because so often they've like never been before. They don't know what's happening, but they're just sipping their drink and staring at everybody.
Well, it's that scene. Like, have you watched the film version of Tick Tick Boom on Netflix? So it's the what's his name? Jonathan Larson, who did Rent. This was like his musical he made before Rent.
Yeah.
And in that, this is what I think of. There's a character in that who's like kind of new. Like, they're all like Broadway people.
Yeah.
Like, they're all actors and singers and writers and directors. And there's this guy who gets brought into their group. And throughout the entire film, that guy just has like the biggest smile on his face and is looking around and like completely confused by everything that's going around. Cause like, they're just like having a party at the house and they break out into a song. Yep. And yes, it's a musical, but also the point is like that they're kind of improvising this.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, gay bar. Yep.
and this guy's like looking around like, this is the best thing ever.
I love that.
It's like, yeah, straight people experiencing camp for the first time.
Yes. Yeah. So anyways, that's funny.
Yeah. I've also, like, I actually have a date this weekend with my partner to play DBD because, one, they have a new killer, although it was on PTB, called the Hound Master.
Sorry, what's PTB?
Player test build.
Okay.
So player test build is like, there's like a week or two where when they do something new, you can only do it through computer because you have to download the thing. But it's basically so they can test it. They then take notes and then...
It's like beta.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah. So they announced this new killer, which kind of came out of nowhere. They dropped no hints. For once, nothing got leaked. And it's a killer called the Hound Master, and it's this big, beautiful black woman from the Caribbean, and she has this gigantic Rottweiler with her, and she can basically sick the dog on people, and then the dog will drag them to her, and then she does what killers do. And so it's really cool. But why I'm playing this weekend with my partner is they brought back 2v8, which means that there's 2 killers and 8 survivors. And there's often a lot of discussion about like killers kind of crapping on survive with friends. So like when survivors play together in a team. And why I think 2v8 is so popular right now is because killers for the first time are seeing how fun this game can be when you're on a team with someone. And so like, yeah, because you can, not all the killers are available. Mostly it's like the original ones, so the ones that aren't licensed. So no Mikey, no Chucky, like all the ones that are not original. But it's really cool to see how they like complement each other. And then you don't get to have regular perks in this version. You get cast as like different types. So like for Survivor, there's a gen type where you're supposed to do generators the whole time. There's a healer who is supposed to be the one to rescue folks and to heal them. There's a runner where your job is to keep the killer busy the whole time. And so, it's really interesting. It's like it freshens it up in such a way because it's taken the basics of the game but rearranged everything in such a way where it feels brand new again.
Right.
So I have not had a chance to play 2v8 because when it first came out, I was moving. I didn't even have my computer set up yet, and I don't have Dead by Daylight on my PS5, and I will not play it on Switch ever again because it's awful. But it just didn't fall. So we're gonna play that this weekend. I'm excited.
Nice.
So do the killers get like tag team kills?
Yeah. So the ones that I've been watching have primarily been killers, and they like. So for example, the one that I watched was the Death Slinger, who is this like old Western guy with a gun, and Billy, the hillbilly.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the Death Slinger would shoot with his gun, and it's attached to a chain, so it would hold somebody in place while the Billy came up with his chainsaw and like so you can tag team and stuff like that. And that's why I was saying it's really cool to see the mixture of killers and their compatibilities with each other. Mm-hmm.
I also wonder if that's why the licensed content is not in there.
Yeah.
Because, that becomes such an exponentially more difficult task to like program all that.
Absolutely. And like part of the licensing, I'm sure, is also the perks that go with it.
Right.
And because they're like basically stripping the original perks and adding new ones that fit this particular game mode, I bet it's like a licensing nightmare to try to be like, especially the licenses that were harder for them to get, fart.
Wasn't Jason tough for them to get?
Well, they're still so tough that they don't have it yet.
Freddy.
Freddy wasn't so tough. Darn it, it's Stranger Things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they actually had Stranger Things.
Demogorgon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then they didn't have Stranger Things. Like it left and then it came back.
Okay.
And so there was a rumor that Stranger Things was working on another video game that was going to come out, and it didn't. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
I know those licensing issues are a real pain. And like, as you get into stuff like Fortnite, where you have all these different characters interacting and like, we were talking about this in class today. Like, do you want Mickey Mouse with a machine gun shooting people, or do you want, Freddy to slash up Mickey Mouse? Right. So like that becomes an issue with these sorts of games when you have these very different IPs interacting with one another.
I remember when Multiverses came out, I was talking about it too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, with the Scooby-Doo one, where like you would call the cop car and they could get LeBron James, throw him in the back seat of the car and beat him up.
Yeah.
Right? So like the image of having a black character get thrown into a cop car and get beat up, they had to change that.
Yeah. They had to change it to the mystery van.
I will say that's why, again, it's obvious that I have a favorite game, but why I think the licensing for Dead by Daylight is really smart is because they really try to stick with horror genre, so it makes sense that that's in the world. The only time that I can see that or think of that they've deviated from that has been they have Lara Croft now in it, but she still kind of fits in.
I was gonna say that kind of action survival. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not like they're licensing Tom Nook.
Right. Although we should, because I hate that guy. That capitalism for babies. That's what I call that game.
It really is.
It really is.
Baby's first mortgage.
Yeah.
The title of the next Animal Crossing game.
I'd still play it. I'm not.
I mean, they could call that game whatever they want. It's still going to sell 20 million copies.
It really is. And then I saw a TikTok the other day that was like things that give off Pisces vibes, which is I'm a Pisces, and they were like Animal Crossing. I was like, I hate that that's right.
All right. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
So I played a lot of things last week for playing for pets.
I was going to say,
I didn't
didn't you play?
Well, actually, I don't actually play a lot of the games because other people are playing them, but we did play some of the Jackbox games, particularly Survey Scramble. Played some more of that. that game is just, I think, a really smart new direction for them.
Yeah.
Not that every game needs to be mimicking exactly what that does, but just to like mix it up.
It's almost like a Jackbox meets Family Feud in like
Right.
a good way.
Yeah. And I think the fact that it's this, I guess the one thing I would worry about with that game is it is pulling that stuff from some server somewhere. So conceivably someday that server could be shut down.
Yeah.
And then that game dies, right? But like, I guess all their servers could be shut down. You wouldn't be able to play those games online anymore.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm kind of really impressed with that is, I feel like a lot of times those Jackbox games, there's like 5 games in a new pack. And I think it's fairly common for people to feel like, okay, 2 of these are good.
Absolutely.
And there are multiple games in this, and I think some are better than others. But like overall, as a concept, right? Like taking Family Feud and blowing it up onto the internet and making this big multiplayer game, it sort of reminds me of Xbox 360 had a 1 versus 100 game that you would play live with other people.
Yeah.
And like they actually gave out like prizes like Xbox Live subscriptions and point cards and that sort of thing. And for years people have begged them to sort of bring that back.
Yeah.
And to me this feels like the closest somebody has gotten to sort of bringing that sort of sensation back. It's not exactly the same.
Because was the Xbox game similar to like the Tetris and Mario 1v100?
Well, it's the TV show 1 versus 100. It was an adaptation of that.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
Which was, where you're like trying to outlast
Yes. Yes.
Or is
okay.
It's 1 versus 100, right? Or 1 versus 90?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's trying to do something very similar to that, I guess is my point.
Yes.
And I think in that way, it feels like a bigger game because you are drawing in all this knowledge from other people and like answers that they've given. And so I think that makes it really cool. And I can see it's also very easy to pick up and play and explain the rules.
Yeah.
Versus sometimes, as much as I love those Jackbox games, you have to play them at least once for people to understand the rules.
Yep.
Well, and then there's some of them that are, and this is just true of Jackbox games in general, I think, but a lot of the ones where you like create something become more fun as you play them.
The T-shirt
because you start adding like inside jokes and all that, whereas this one is like, you can have your inside jokes and it's probably not going to help you. So like you actually, it feels like you're able to be more competitive without it being like fist fight competitive.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, you
can have your inside jokes on like the one that we played Thursday when I was there was,
Quiplash?
The first, we did one of the survey ones.
Oh.
And it was, the most popular thing before man. And so, when you're doing, when you're trying to get the most popular one, Superman, and stuff like that, where you really try. And then when it's like, what are like, now you're looking for the least popular. It's like, that's where you can fit in like your inside jokes and.
Right. Well, and I think also it makes it more accessible to a player base that's not maybe familiar with each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
exactly.
So those other games are really good for inside jokes. And so they work really well if you're playing them with, a group of friends that you're very familiar with. Whereas this is much easier for strangers, like a class of students, to jump in together who may not have that familiarity already.
And there's not like a push to be funny like with some of the other Jackbox games, like because I know Quiplash, you really, the way to win that is to have the funniest answer as well as like a good answer.
Or the Riff Tracks game, for that matter, right? Where
Riff Tracks, the Joke Boat game.
Yeah, and the presentation game. Where, like that's a very specific skill.
Yep.
That like some people are just not going to have.
Yep.
And so this feels much more accessible. Plus, everybody's seen Family Feud, so as soon as you explain it as Family Feud, everybody gets it. Right away. You don't have to do much more. But yeah, that was really cool. A a lot of those games, like seeing people kind of interact with them for the first time is always interesting. Like Mount Your Friends, to see people interacting with that game for the first time and going, oh, this game is like really insane and crazy. And then as they start getting it, like realizing, oh, this game is actually really competitive. And and there's that
Or like,
weird.
what was the floppy, like, try to knock people off or like shove them into the
Gang Beast? Is that what you're talking about?
Okay.
Yeah. No, Push Me Pull You is the one you're thinking of. The like cat dog simulator game. Is that what you're thinking of?
Disturbing. Yes. Like fun. Don't get me wrong, but disturbing.
I mean, same watching the floppy Gang
Beast.
Beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun but disturbing.
And, you know, that game, Gang Beast, is like well over 10 years old at this point. And so that becomes interesting because that game has sort of come and gone for a lot of people who aren't going to rediscover it, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so events like that are really fun because people get to discover games. But other than that, I haven't really played a whole lot, in part because a lot of my stuff has been unplugged because we were using the equipment. So I haven't played a whole lot. I played a little bit of Astro Bot, continuing to play that. That's still, you know, as I've said before, it's a fantastic game. So that pretty much does it for me. Hopefully next episode I'll have more to talk about. So let's jump on into the news. And, you know, there's several big stories here, but we'll start with Nintendo. So this happened last week when we weren't recording, but Nintendo has confirmed there will be backwards compatibility for the Switch successor.
Thank God.
Whatever that is called, your back catalog, whether it's digital or the physical, we assume, will be able to play on that next system.
Isn't that the one thing that when we were talking about, like if there was one thing from the Switch you would bring over? Like, wasn't that most of our answers?
I think that was the one that we were all like, we all know we need this, so what's our other answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's one of those things that at this point is so expected of a console. PlayStation's doing it. Xbox has been doing it for years.
Yeah.
That people just assume when they buy a new game console, that library, you know, particularly that digital library,
Yes.
I think for a lot of people,
Yes.
the idea that they're going to be able to carry that on with them.
Yeah.
Which it kind of makes sense that Nintendo is finally doing this. Like, they had to put a lot of effort into the, what is it? The you can play Super SNES games.
The
Super
Switch Online.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like they had to put so much effort into making that because of the backwards compatibility issue that, oh, wow, now I guess to not have to do this again, we can, I don't know, be able to do that, like, be able to
just
play.
make it backwards compatible from the beginning.
Well, and I think that's part of it as well, right? Like, it's not just these games will be backwards compatible, but the Switch Online experience will be backwards compatible.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think that is a big part of it, right? They don't want to rebuild that sort of virtual console catalog.
Yeah.
They want that to just carry forward. So all those games that are on there now, theoretically, will be on there when the next system launches. And probably, you know, they'll continue putting out new games on there as they go forward. But yeah, I mean, at this point, it seems really ridiculous to restart every new console generation.
Yeah.
And I know for them, like their issue was like they were trying to figure out how to play games. Like PlayStation, Xbox did the discs from jump, and so it was pretty easy to, you know, to make that backwards compatible, I think. But for like with having the cartridges, it was so much more difficult to.
Well, and the other thing with the Switch becoming both console and handheld, of like, you know, okay, the Game Boy was backwards compatible up to so far because and then like the Wii, you could still play GameCube games, but especially now that they've figured out something that merges handheld and console, being able to keep that backwards compatibility, I think, is even more important.
Yeah, and for a portable system, people are going to buy a lot of those games digitally.
Yeah.
right? Because they don't want to be carrying around a bunch of little cards, even though those are small. You don't want to really carry around a bunch of those and swap them out.
I say I'm almost more scared of carrying around little cards because I'm going to lose them.
That's what I was about to say. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's part of the reason, right? Like why I buy digitally, particularly on the Switch and everything, because I want to be able to just carry that with me wherever I go and not think about my library.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is really good news. There had been hints and stuff before, but this came straight from Nintendo as an official statement via their Twitter account. So this is official confirmation. It will be backwards compatible. Sticking with Nintendo and a game we talked about a little bit earlier, Pokemon TCG Pocket made $12 million in its first 4 days of release.
I'm not surprised considering how many people I've already seen with the Mew card. And also I am shook. Like I can't even.
Do you have to pay for the Mew card, or is it something you can pay to have early?
The Mew card you get once you've collected all of the other Kanto cards. Mm-hmm. But with deck pulls being random,
right.
Is that the first 151?
I don't know if they have all 150. Okay. But yeah, you have to have collected all of the Kanto cards in some form. So like. If you got Pikachu but didn't get Pikachu EX, I think you're still okay. But because one of the other things you can do is you can do showcases to show off your cards. Mm-hmm. And the number of people I've seen showcasing the Mew card already, where I'm like, how? Because they don't
2 weeks, there's no way.
They don't just have Kanto mods. They have cards through. I want to say through Gen 6.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, they don't have all of the cards on there yet, but I'm like, how? Mm-hmm. That's how, because you spent money to do more and more booster packs and until you got them.
I mean, and this is you put a game like this out for free. This is how you monetize it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Rather than advertising, let people put more money into the game to get the specific card they want.
Yep.
I felt like Marvel Snap did this really well in that it often wasn't a card you couldn't get access to any other way, but it was maybe a variation.
Yeah.
So they had the 90s X-Men cartoon variations, and they were selling those like $50 or something. And I was like, well, that's ridiculous. Nobody should pay that.
And then you fight somebody or you play somebody that has them.
Yeah. I was going to say Pokemon TCG Pocket's doing that with your coin or your card sleeves that you can put on. They have special ones that if you buy the premium pass, you can open double amount of booster packs. You can open, you can do more wonder picks. You can do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there is a long history of monetizing card games digitally. So I feel like people know how to do that if they can get that install base. And of course, Pokemon is going to get that install base.
Yeah.
Just straight out of the gate with very low effort. Let's see. Some news out of Xbox. So Phil Spencer, who is the head of Xbox, has been doing multiple different interviews. So several things have come out of those interviews this week. The first thing, and I think maybe this is the biggest thing to come out of these interviews, is that he has said that Xbox is not ruling out any games for PlayStation 5 or Switch. Mm-hmm. One would assume Switch successor.
Yeah.
So one of the things when they start porting over some of these Xbox exclusives was this idea, well, there are going to be lines they don't cross. Like Halo is the ultimate first-party exclusive Xbox game, so that will never cross over to any of these other platforms. And this is Phil Spencer saying, no, we're not thinking in those terms.
Wow.
Which actually, I would say with Halo makes the most sense, because for Halo multiplayer, I'm not sure it makes sense to have an exclusive multiplayer only on one console anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
You want as many people playing that multiplayer part of the game at the very least as possible. So you put that out onto as many platforms as possible.
Yeah.
And we've even seen this with Sony with Concord and Helldivers, day and date releasing those onto PC
Yeah.
At the same time, they put it on PlayStation 5. So, yeah, that probably doesn't make the Xbox diehards happy, but it also seemed like that writing was sort of on the wall. They'd been sort of hinting at that. And this was him officially saying it. The other big news that he said is something that we have talked about on here before and has been hinted at and rumored, and that is that Xbox is working on a handheld system. But he notes that that is still years away. We don't know what that handheld system will be.
Right. If it'll be more like a Switch or it'll be like a Vita?
Right,
Or,
like the PlayStation Vita.
Yeah.
A lot of people suspect that the next Xbox might be ARM-based. So ARM chip are the chips that like your phone runs off of, that Mac computers now run off of and everything. And a lot of people think that they might go that direction with their next chip, and that if they do, one of the benefits why a lot of things run on ARM chips now is that they use quite a bit less power, a lot less electricity, energy in order to run them. So if you're going to build an entire system around that, then it makes it much easier to make a portable version of that system. So what we might see for the next console generation is not an Xbox Series X and S, but an Xbox and a portable Xbox.
Yeah.
Like we might see two different versions, and the portable one would inherently be probably slightly less powered.
Yeah.
Right.
But maybe it's more powered when you put it into a dock or something, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't know. But like that seems to be, that's where a lot of the rumors have been with this, about them developing this. And so he's confirming something is in development. The other possibility is that this is just them taking something like the ROG Ally or the Steam Deck and essentially teaming up with maybe a third-party manufacturer, maybe making it themselves, and just making one of those portable PCs.
Yeah.
And just doing it with Xbox branding and, maybe working on the software so that works on a much more sort of pick up and play basis. Because that's been one of the big complaints about the ROG Ally is that you're still using Windows, like on this little portable handheld game system. And along with that, all the problems that come with Windows.
Yeah.
So this might be them working on a sort of software layer that would allow them to make that a more consoleized sort of experience.
Yeah.
Which is something that, Valve has done very well with the Steam Deck. The other news that has come out of Xbox this week is they introduced a new marketing campaign called This is an Xbox, but like also this is an Xbox and this is not an Xbox. And I don't know did I send that in the group chat? I don't think I did.
No, but I'm just picturing all of the things of like, this is an Xbox, shows an apple. This is not an Xbox.
Right.
Shows a water bottle. This is not an Xbox.
Well, so it is a lot of that. It is them showing like obviously like the Series X and the Series S. This is an Xbox, but then it's showing like a laptop computer.
It's like this is an Xbox for your lap.
Right. It's showing your cell phone because you can stream games on it.
A
so
bento box.
Trying to make the idea that Xbox is more of a platform and an idea than like a single piece of hardware.
Box.
Yeah. So they have cat boxes, bento boxes.
Which honestly, this makes a whole lot of sense with him saying that they're not ruling out games for PS5 and Switch. They're almost getting away from or putting more into like their software as opposed because they have a PlayStation and are like, this is an Xbox. But it's like they're what you just said, that they're more of it's more the content as opposed to the hardware.
I'm still so ready for the memes.
This is I've already seen people like saying, "Hey, I got a sticker. What would be the funniest thing to put this is an Xbox sticker on?" But I think this gets to that idea that they have been hinting at, over the last year plus, that they're not going to try to continue to compete in the traditional arms race.
Yeah.
Right. And that this reminds me an awful lot of what Nintendo did. with the Wii, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, we're getting out of this arms race. The GameCube was not as successful as we wanted it to be. We can't always have the most powerful hardware. We don't want to go that route. So we're going to try to go a different route and do something different. And they've done that now for 3 successive consoles, right? With the Wii, the Wii U, and the Switch. 2 of those have been wildly successful for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems very likely that the next console will be pretty much the exact same experience again. And it seems like a very smart move on Nintendo's part. And it seems like Xbox is doing the same thing, saying, hey, like trying to outpower and out-exclusive PlayStation has not worked for us.
Right.
And they've said the Xbox One generation, the Xbox One / PlayStation 4 generation, they lost the console war in that generation.
Yeah.
Because so many people bought PlayStation 4, they built up catalogs digitally, and so when it came time to buy a next-gen system, they automatically, by default, went PlayStation 5.
Yep.
And so this seems like a way of, hey, we have this catalog of games, we have these developers, where do we have people play these games? And their answer seems to be,
everywhere.
Yeah, more than ever before, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, they've been doing where they've been releasing day and date on PC, co-releases, but like even more than before, it seems like, hey, we're really leaning into this.
It's smart. Like Nintendo even brands it. It's like if you want a family system, right? You get Nintendo. If you are more of a gamer in the sense of like the AAA games, you get a PlayStation. So here, if you travel a lot, or if you don't want to be tied down to wherever your console is, but don't want to carry around a handheld that may not be as powerful,
right?
Even though they're thinking of doing that too, you get Xbox, or you have Xbox on all of them.
I was gonna say, well, and the ability to cross over and say we have family games and we have like AAA hardcore gamer games would be a big win for them.
For sure.
I mean,
they can have that crossover.
They just put out on Game Pass that Spyro Reignited collection.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, I mean, like, that's premium family content games.
Yeah.
It's like I can't win at either one of these games, so I'm going to play both of them, and that's how I win.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I actually think that's very astute. They are splitting the difference between Nintendo and Sony.
Yeah.
Right. And where else are they going to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they can't compete with Nintendo doing what Nintendo does.
No.
People have tried and failed.
Yeah.
And it's obvious they've lost so much ground to Sony. Like, they may never, like...
It's wiser to turn
right
than to try to just keep plowing forward.
Right. So this seems like again, very indicative of the future of Xbox. They're still saying they're going to make their next console the most powerful console ever. And when I hear that more than ever, my interpretation of that is, yeah, they're going to make a pretty high-end PC, the next Xbox. But the message is going to be, yeah, you can buy this, but like, here's all the other options you can play it on. So we may sell this at $700-800, but like, you don't have to buy this. You could buy this other one and still play our games.
Or play our games on the PS5 that you already have.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't really care.
Yep.
And, of course, at this point, I don't think the PlayStation 6 is going to be anything lower than $700.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so actually, I left this off. We should talk about this. It's not happy news. Politics is coming into video games because of the results of the U.S. presidential election last year. One of the promises that was made by Trump was to impose tariffs, like a flat tariff, and particularly I think it's a 10% flat tariff on every imported product. And then I believe up to a 40% one, particularly on goods from China. One of the things to understand is that most game consoles are made in China. So a lot of people within the industry are saying this is a couple of things that practically this is going to increase the cost of those systems, but also very sort of preemptively if you're Nintendo and you are launching a new game system next year, are you sitting there right now going, do we want to announce this at $300 when there might be a 40% tariff attached to this? Mm-hmm. So do we go ahead and announce this at $400 or $500 or, above what we were originally going to price this at, or we might have otherwise. So, I bring that up because we were talking about the cost of the PlayStation and what the next generation consoles. I think all signs point to whatever next game consoles get released, whether it's due to tariffs or it's due to just the increasing power, are going to be more expensive and substantially more expensive than this generation of consoles were, which seems insane to think about.
Yeah.
Because already $500, I felt like was pushing the limit of what a lot of people were willing to pay.
Yeah.
And particularly because those prices haven't come down significantly, though that transitions into our next story here, which is that PlayStation is cutting the price of multiple pieces of hardware, but particularly the PlayStation 5 digital price will be cut for Christmas down to $380. That is $70 off its current price, only $20 off what it was originally launched at. So when that system originally came out, it was $400. They put out the slim version, which is the slightly smaller version of the digital. When they did that, they moved the price up to $450. They're now cutting $70 off of that. So this is cheaper than the PlayStation 5 has ever sold for officially. And of course, retailers could knock even more of this off or include a free game or something. So if you're thinking about buying a PlayStation 5, it seems like there's going to be, some pretty good deals this Christmas. The other thing I'll note about that $380 price, it is about half the price of buying a PlayStation 5 Pro with the add-on disk drive to it, because that's $700 plus $80 or $90. I forget which. So, yeah, just crazy pricing a lot of people out.
Yeah.
Let's see. In happier news, that doesn't have to do with killing all of our bank accounts. Sophie Turner, actress, is reportedly in talks to star in Amazon's Tomb Raider series. Sophie Turner, I guess, is best known from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Also, isn't she like buddies with Taylor Swift or something? I feel like I have seen something about that.
Probably. I know that she married a Jonas
I was
brother.
going to say she was married to Joe Jonas.
Oh, okay.
They're divorced now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then I don't know how those alliances align.
Oh, it's like pop star kind of thing.
No, I understand who the Jonas Brothers are. I just don't know. I don't know.
I understand who the Jonas Brothers are, Christina.
I just don't know if Taylor Swift would be more likely to be friends with her or less likely depending on the Jonas Brothers or any of that. Yeah.
I don't keep up with that.
We need Frankie in here. I feel like Frankie could explain this
Frankie
in
would.
detail to us. I tease because I actually would ask Frankie that question.
Yeah, same,
and be like,
same.
I just don't know.
I believe that Sophie and Taylor are still friends.
Oh, okay.
But also there was a lot of consternation over whether Sophie Turner or Joe Jonas was the problem in that divorce.
Okay.
So I'm not positive.
Well, that's obviously beyond our pay grade.
Yeah.
But anyways, she seems like a smart casting decision.
Yeah, I think so.
I really liked the actress Alicia Vikander. Vikander. I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Have we talked about this yet? That Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to be the one.
She's writing it. Yes.
Yeah. Have we talked about that?
Maybe not on an episode you were on.
Oh, okay. Because with Sophie Turner, I'm gonna watch this.
Yeah. I mean, there was some talk at first that she might star in it herself.
That would also be good.
I mean,
she's not really Lara Croft though.
No, but like she sort of did that with the Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
The last one, she got to kind of play that role a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, because Lara Croft is just Indiana Jones. I mean,
fair.
Originally, that's what it was, very much playing off that.
I definitely see Sophie Turner as being more of a Lara Croft than Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
I agree.
I guess it's because like what I really know of Phoebe Waller-Bridge is the what is it?
Fleabag.
Fleabag. Yeah, I was like flea. That doesn't sound right. Fleabag. And just that, and that's really more of who she is. And so, yeah, I just don't see it.
She's a very good writer, though.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, like she wrote on the last James Bond film.
Mm-hmm.
They brought her in. And so, yeah, I'm very excited to see what she does with it. I was very excited when they announced her as writing this.
Mm-hmm.
I still like Alicia Vikander as Lara Croft. I thought she did a really good job. That movie's not great, but it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But like she definitely had the look and the like sort of vibe of Lara Croft very well down. But I'm happy to see somebody new in the role as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Apple has announced 4 Square Enix titles for Apple Arcade. They actually announced a lot of different games, but these kind of stuck out to me. Final Fantasy IV, the 3D remake that they did for the 3DS. Final Fantasy IV, the After Years, the original Final Fantasy, and Trials of Mana. These are all going to be labeled as Plus versions, which is what Apple does for Apple Arcade releases. It's not necessarily that there's actually anything extra in them. It's just this is free to play through Apple Arcade if you subscribe to it. Whereas if you buy the original version through the store, you're paying whatever it is, probably $20 for one of these Final Fantasy games. So that's cool. I mean, it's neat. Apple Arcade, I don't feel like has been this runaway success, but it's cool to see them bringing some big hitters to it. And, you know, anything with the Final Fantasy name, I feel like still carries a lot of weight.
For sure.
Even if these are, you know, older catalog releases. And I don't feel like that 3D one has, the Final Fantasy IV remake has been a lot of places. I think maybe it got ported to PC, but outside of that, it's just that in 3DS. Let's see. This was kind of a surprise announcement. Warcraft 1 and 2 have gotten new full remasters. This is for I believe it's the 30th anniversary of Warcraft. But they've gotten full new remasters of Warcraft 1 and 2. So entirely new graphics and everything, overhaul. And then the Warcraft 3 Reforged, which met with really negative release kind of reaction at the time. People didn't like the graphics that they did for the Reforged edition. They have also updated those graphics. So kind of from the trailer to maybe bring them all into line a little better so that there's kind of a more consistency with them. I loved Warcraft 1 and 2. I played a lot of those games, and you know that was before all the deep lore was in the series. And they're just like really good real-time strategy games. And, you know, it was the little creatures were all fun. So I might actually like dip back into that. Let's see. The Sonic director, Jeff Fowler, has teased that Sonic 3 will reveal a new character. So he noted that fans were already like kind of placing their bets on who will be in the post-credit scene or final scene of the film in the way that Shadow and Knuckles have been introduced previously. And he's confirmed that, yes, they are setting up a Sonic 4. So, Alicia.
Did he say if it'll be a human character or a Mobian character?
I assure you I have no idea what a Mobian character is. Is that just Sonic type character?
Yeah, like Sonic and Tails and Knuckles. Those
what are your thoughts? If he said human or if he said
well, so because here's the thing on human is, so I have not gotten Sonic X Shadow Generations, but my sister did, and she did the pre-order so she could get like with the pre-order you could get Gerald Robotnik's journal, and one of the things that they revealed in that journal is. So, Gerald Robotnik, right?
You have condemned us to a deep lore dive.
Not
I'm
too
so sorry.
deep. Not too deep. Not too deep.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Gerald Robotnik is Eggman's grandfather, right?
Okay.
And then you've also got Gerald Robotnik is the
Gotcha.
creator of Shadow.
I thought Joe Robotnik was Dr. Robotnik, so okay. Yes,
He's
I'm on
the
board
original
now.
Dr. Robotnik.
Okay.
And then Gerald also created Shadow, and like they were up on the Ark with his granddaughter Maria.
Who is the one who dies?
Right. Maria is the one we're all excited to watch a 10-year-old get killed.
Sickos. I told you.
Yeah.
All the Sonic fans.
So since Sonic Adventure 2, when Maria and Shadow were first introduced, we've known that Maria and Eggman are cousins. What Gerald's journal just revealed is that Maria also has a baby sister.
Oh.
Okay.
So if it's a human character, I could see them using this like tie-in up with Sonic X Shadow Generations of we just revealed that Robotnik has another cousin, Eggman has another cousin, Maria has a baby sister. Are we introducing that character? On the other side, if it's a Mobian character, they've already talked about I guess I don't know if they've talked about. There's been a lot of speculation that if this movie does well, one, we'll probably get a Shadow spin-off similar to the Knuckles TV show, and then everyone kind of expects that Silver the Hedgehog will come in some way. So I would I would expect that it would probably be. There's a chance that it's Amy Rose, but if it's a Mobius character, I would expect it to be more. Something with Silver would do more to tease a future movie than something with Amy, for example.
Is Silver a villain?
No.
Okay.
Silver is the one he's introduced in Sonic 06.
That's the reason I don't know.
Yeah, but so he is from the future, and he gets tricked by Mephiles. So he kind of is an antagonist in the Sonic and Shadow storylines of 06, but he is a good guy.
Are the Sonic games basically the Fast and the Furious films?
I've never seen Fast and the Furious, so cannot say.
But every film introduces some new insane character as the villain who eventually becomes their friend.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was thinking Dragon Ball Z when you said this.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Silver as when Trunks comes in and just obliterates Frieza. And it was oh yeah, this person that you've been fighting all of these seasons, no big deal. But wait, here comes Cell. And then Cell is unbeatable. But once you beat him, guess what? Majin Buu.
Right, yeah.
It just goes boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I will say they don't drag it out with Shadow. It's by the time you get through each of the main storylines, he's figured shit out. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He has the Knuckles problem where Knuckles always gets tricked by Eggman. He gets tricked by Mephiles.
So he's dumb.
He's a little dumb. He's a little dumb. Said with love.
So is Sonic, so it's fitting.
Honestly, my favorite characters.
Yeah. No, Silver is a cinnamon roll who needs to be protected. But
So I will say the other character that it could potentially be would be Metal Sonic, Mecha Sonic.
Metal Sonic. I would say if they wanted to keep going in game order, Sonic Adventure 2 kind of leads into Sonic Heroes, where Metal Sonic is the main villain. So that would be cool as well, particularly if Jim Carrey does retire after this one, he supposedly was going to retire after the second one. So
He just has a lot of fun playing Robotnik, and honestly, I get it.
I would say, and
He also enjoys that fat paycheck.
Yeah.
It's probably a pretty easy role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
The
just
other
has
thing-
to act like himself and then gets a paycheck for it.
The other thing that we know truly it should be is Big the Cat.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what I would say. Big the Cat also has a major role in Sonic Heroes. So if we're going Sonic Heroes, it could be Big the Cat.
Please.
I want the film to cut to black and then cut to a scene of Big the Cat fishing.
Yes.
And that would be the perfect ending to the film for me.
Honestly, yeah.
That would be a great post-credit scene. Is just Big fishing and Froggy there next to him,
We're
and
done.
just that's it.
Yes, I included that specifically for Alicia because I knew she would would be able to go into the lore for us.
We actually talked about that while we were eating pizza right before this.
Yeah. So like I said, I could see them going the human route and like it being that they introduced this baby sister for Maria in order to, particularly again since Jim Carrey had originally said he was retiring after Sonic 2. Like, okay, well, who's going to be the new human villain? Maybe Maria's baby sister is evil. We don't know.
I'd buy it.
I mean, she could. Everyone reading the Robotnik journal apparently is like, okay, now Shadow needs to go find her, and I'm like, I don't think he does. I think she's probably gonna be evil. You know, when we're looking at all Maria died 50 years ago, so like this person's gonna be a grown up. She's gonna be evil. I'm calling it.
Well, I guess we'll all find out soon enough.
I'll say December, less than a month.
Let's see. Other news, sort of similar to the Warcraft news. Rockstar has given a new major graphical overhaul to the Grand Theft Auto trilogy. So if you remember, this was the remakes of the original 3 games, Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, that they put out 3 years ago, which seems insane that it was been that long. But when they put those games out originally as this trilogy pack, they had used like some AI, like upscaling and everything. So a lot of the graphics looked really messed up and everything. And there were lots of problems with the game. They spent a long time patching it. And then they haven't done anything in quite a while, as far as I know. Well, they just put out this major patch to it that completely overhauls the graphics. And like, you know, just looking at screenshots, I have not played this, but just looking at screenshots, it does look significantly better. It looks more what you would hope they would do with those games if they were going to remaster or remake them. It's not night and day, but it is a significant, noticeable upgrade. As part of this, though, the original developers of the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, so this is the package, not the games themselves, that's obviously Rockstar, removed the original developers' Grove Street Games from the opening credits of the game. So they just completely removed their name. The CEO, Grove Street Games, has posted a message about this, a response to this on social media, and noted that he was speaking hypothetically. If a publisher were to do this, to remove a developer's name, it would be, quote, a real dick move.
He's not wrong.
No.
I love that he phrased it hypothetically if this were to happen.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, with no relationship to recent events whatsoever.
Yeah.
If this happened.
This just feels like Rockstar again bungling this whole mess.
Yeah.
Right? Like the original release of this game was bungled. Like these are, they're one of the biggest companies in the world, one of the most successful. They put out these classic games that had a huge impact on the game industry. They completely bungled that original release. And now to put this out, like, this is fantastic. Yes, fix this. But then to remove this developer just really feels like rubbing salt in the wound or opening up a whole new wound, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of makes you, if you're a small developer, say, do we really want to work with these guys? Electronic Arts CEO Andrew Wilson is apparently being considered for the role of Disney's new CEO when Bob Iger retires for a second time. He is apparently on the short list. People had thought it was going to be an internal promotion. There's been 3 big names battered about, but all of a sudden his name has cropped up. Yeah, let's put EA's boss in charge of Disney.
Sounds like a brilliant plan.
Yeah, I mean, you would think okay, does this mean potentially Disney goes more into interactive entertainment, more into games because of this? Is this a possible situation that's been rumored for years that somebody might come in, a big media company, and buy Electronic Arts? So is the way that you do this is have Disney buy Electronic Arts and have him just move into that position after the deal is complete, right?
Yeah.
Disney, Bob Iger did in an interview say they're not looking at major acquisitions at the moment, but do you really trust the CEO of a multinational corporation?
But
Not even a little bit.
He may not be the CEO. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, if this happens and then he's like, buy EA. I don't know. It just, I feels icky.
Let's see. Let's get kind of one last story here. This one's particularly kind of interesting to me. Sega's Mega Drive Genesis collection, Sega's Mega Drive Genesis Classics collection is being pulled from electronic stores on December 6th. There's over 60 games included in this, like pretty much all the big heavy hitters that you can think of that came out on the 16-bit system are on this. And it's interesting because, one, that's a really interesting collection. It has this really kind of like cool environment that you access the games as like a bedroom from the 90s with like posters on the wall and everything, and you're adjusting sound options by adjusting a stereo shelf system and all that. So it does this really kind of like skeuomorphic interface that's really neat to look at. But also, like, why would you pull this?
I was going to say, have they said why?
So they have not, and the only reason I can think that you would pull something like this is if you want to introduce a new collection.
Yeah.
Maybe not of all 60 of these games. Maybe it's a part of these games. Maybe it's 40 of these games and some different games added in there. It may not be a reissuing of these 60 exact games, but these are all first-party games. So this is not like a collection where the license is running out for them.
Well, and that's like, you think about, Sega just did so well with the Sonic Generations, where they were like, okay, we hear you that you don't want to lose the original game, so we'll keep the original game in bundles.
Right.
And then if you're buying individually, you'd get Sonic X Shadow.
Right.
So like it's really weird for them to have like done so well with that and then suddenly do a left turn here and be like, we're pulling it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels like a weird choice on their part. So yeah, that does it for news. So let's move on to our big question. And in honor of Thanksgiving, who is your favorite video game bird? And Christina, why don't we start with you?
Yeah. So the two that popped into my head first, I don't even know if they're my favorite per se, because I remember when I was playing these as a kid, these two games that, I was like, oh, I don't like them.
Well, maybe the ones that you would prefer to serve for Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay, Kazooie would be like my my appetizer, and then Falco.
Wow.
Because
just out for blood.
I wrote on here Falco and Kazooie, and then underneath I wrote birds are assholes.
I need to introduce you to Rowan Mithril's videos because everything with him, it's always the birds. Hashtag always the birds.
They are they're jerks in real life, and think about it, they're baby dinosaurs. So yeah, they're jerks. And
are all dinosaurs jerks? Is that the point? Okay.
I mean, they're like, there was some cute ones, but mostly they're assholes. And so I was like, oh, I don't even know if I have like a positive experience with a video game bird, because I remember being like, Kazooie, why are you such a jerk to Banjo? Like, quit it. And then with Falco, if you're playing right as Fox, he just critiques you the whole time, and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to learn how to play this game. Leave me alone.
He's very much the sort of frenemy.
Yeah, exactly. Both of them are, honestly. Like, Kazooie is kind of that way in Banjo and Kazooie, and it just, the only reason why she's okay is because like she helps you. Like you can walk on her legs to get up to get up steep cliffs, and she'll go wee or whatever, like with her wings to get you far away. But like otherwise, screw that bird.
Wow. So, what are your feelings on Big Bird?
Okay, well, let's see. He's okay, but mainly because like I when I started college read the book from the person who created him and played him, and so like I'm like I know the guy behind the bird, so it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Gosh.
Wow, I didn't realize we had a birdicist on this podcast.
Yes.
Just hates all birds.
Yeah.
A birdophile? I don't know.
A bird.
Okay, Alicia. I don't know your feelings on birds either, so I guess we'll find out.
I love birds, but I had a hard time thinking of video game
Alicia
birds.
Christina just stuck her tongue out like when you said that. When you said, I love all birds, she went, gagging.
No, I did have a really hard time thinking of video game birds. Funnily enough, it was our conversation before the show that made me think, oh yeah, the Duolingo owl.
His name is Duo.
Is it? I just know him as the evil owl.
But, okay, so he's not too bad, but I also don't think of it
I'm
as
sorry,
a video
did you
game.
just say the Duolingo owl isn't too bad?
He's not too bad.
Everyone I know hates that owl.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
He makes a cute little noise whenever I get 5 or 10 in a row.
Okay.
But French or the Trench, like any of the Duolingo owl will murder you if you don't keep up your streak, or he'll set your house on fire.
Well, I do a good job at keeping up my streak, so I'm 313 and going.
He hasn't crossed her yet.
Yeah.
Or she hasn't crossed him.
I'll cook that bird.
Yeah, when he burns your house down,
Yep.
he'll be cooked. My other answer, the only other answer I could think of was on brand. I was like, well, Gamma from Sonic Adventure, who's actually a flicky. So
I thought for sure you were going to answer like one of the Pokemon.
I thought about answering, but then I was like, they're not really birds. They're bird Pokemon.
You mean like?
I'm not sure Kazooie is actually a bird. Like,
She is.
she's like an anthropomorphic bird.
Yeah, she looks like a bird. She just sits in a backpack.
Right, but like, is she a bird as much as Goofy is a dog?
No.
Giving existential crises
more
here.
so, she doesn't wear clothes. She's more of a bird than Banjo is a bear.
Well, Banjo does wear clothes.
Banjo's a bear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. I've never played Banjo-Kazooie. I just know the
what?
series. I know the characters, but I've never played it.
The commentary and the soundtrack is what makes that game, and like the witch evil character consistently refers to him as like an ugly bear. Yeah.
Those are good games.
Yeah, they really are.
Anyway, one of these days I'm going to watch the Runaway Guys playthrough of it, but
You should.
I just haven't yet.
I watch a lot of 100%. I like watch it every like once a year, the 100% of it.
Dang. I get that though, because that's me with the Spyro games. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I have a lot of nostalgia for like the Pokemon birds, but they don't feel like birds to me. They feel like Pokemon.
I think that is technically true.
Yeah.
They are not birds. Though I never understand how that works in the Pokemon world, because there are actual real animals with the Pokemon.
I was going to say, somehow you have, like, Pikachu is an electric mouse Pokemon, which tells us there are mice in the Pokemon world, but we never see them. We just see mice Pokemon.
I mean,
How often do you see mice in real life?
More often than I've seen them in Pokemon.
Well, yeah, but
I suppose it
like,
depends where you live.
yeah.
Well, if we are talking Thanksgiving Pokemon birds, though, we do need to recognize that the Pokedex entry for Farfetch'd literally talks about people cooking it with its leek. So that is the true video game Thanksgiving bird.
delicious.
It's Farfetch'd.
I bet a Mr. Mime would be delicious.
No, because there's a YouTube channel called Delicious James where they like do meme things, like beating Pokemon the way ChatGPT tells us to do. And they've been doing a bunch of quizzes, and one of the running gags is Shannon eating a Mr. Mime.
I mean, look, if you're going to eat any Pokemon, then you should be able to eat all Pokemon, right?
This feels like a slippery slope.
Yeah. This feels like a conversation we need OJ for.
OJ, would you eat a horse?
OJ would go much darker with this than I have. Plus, they know like the like all the like weird Pokemon that I don't, so would be able to pull something even darker than Mr. Mime. All right, so I sort of went the same way as Christina did with Birds I Hate, and it's the hawks in the original Ninja Gaiden on the NES. Those stupid birds like killed me so many times in that game
that you want to eat them
because they respawn every time you like move and you're trying to make a jump, and they hit you in midair and knock you into a pit.
# always the birds.
Yeah, and so I mean, look, I dislike the Medusa heads in Castlevania for the same reason.
Yeah,
and I really hate those birds. And yes, I don't know that a hawk is good eating, but
you would try.
I would at least cook them. I may feed them.
And then if it smells like KFC, you take a bite. That's
I don't know if I'm that courageous. Maybe I just feed it to my cats, but like they're getting cooked either way. All right, that does it for this week's episode. Thank you, Alicia and Christina. Thank you to everyone listening. You can always check out more of this podcast, old episodes, and other content. Again, check out those streams of Playing for Pets at salukigames.com. And we will be back soon with another episode. But in the meantime, go out, play something fun. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Eat a bird, not a video game bird, not a Pokemon bird. But enjoy maybe some real turkey or a goose or something. And
just remember, as we all learned from WKRP in Cincinnati, turkeys cannot fly.
No, they certainly cannot. Oh, the humanity. All right, we'll be back soon with another episode.